There are moments in history where the ocean, so often a source of wonder, reveals its darker side. I think of Anthony White, a marine biology student in California. He had a deep respect for ocean life, a respect that tragically wasn't enough to save him. It was the summer of 2014, and the weather at Surf Beach was perfect. The morning mist turned to sunshine, painting the ocean surface with gold. 22-year-old Anthony White was exactly what you'd expect. A California marine biology student with a passion for surfing. He'd been surfing for 8 years, known for his enthusiasm and his habit of seeking out remote breaks. He was methodical, too, always researching surf spots and ocean conditions before paddling out. He and his friends had planned this solo dawn patrol session for weeks. It was meant to be the perfect combination of his two loves, surfing and marine biology. He arrived at Surf Beach just as the sun was rising, spending an hour checking conditions and waxing his board at that remote location. But Anthony was restless. He told other early morning surfers that the real waves were beyond the crowded spots, even though the area was right next to a massive seal rookery at Point Conception. That morning, Anthony set out early, carrying his 6.2 shortboard and minimal safety gear. He signed the beach access log saying he planned to surf the main break. But somewhere along the way, Anthony spotted what looked like perfect waves breaking further offshore. Despite the warning signs about marine life in the area, Anthony paddled out about 150 yards from shore to position himself. The area was beautiful, too beautiful to resist, with seals barking in the distance and crystal-clear water revealing the sandy bottom below. While setting up for that perfect wave, Anthony suddenly noticed something alarming. The water was unusually quiet. There were no other surfers in sight, and the seals had stopped chattering. But he was so focused on catching the wave of the day that he ignored these warning signs. Finally, he was perfectly positioned, sitting on his board, legs dangling in the water. Then, a terrifying silence fell over the ocean. Out of nowhere, there it was. A massive great white shark emerging from the depths, 20 feet below where Anthony was sitting. He didn't realize he had entered the domain of one of nature's most efficient predators. Great whites are living fossils, virtually unchanged for millions of years. Their torpedo-shaped bodies are perfectly designed for explosive attacks. These apex predators can detect blood from up to 500 yards away and sense the electrical impulses of a beating heart from several meters. When hunting, great whites approach from the depths in bursts of speed, exceeding 35 miles per hour, using surprise to deliver devastating attacks with bite forces reaching up to 4,000 pounds per square inch. Anthony reacted instantly, but there was nowhere to run. The massive predator struck from directly below, covering the distance in a split second. Anthony managed to see the shark's massive form just before impact. The attack came with such explosive force that both he and his surfboard were launched into the air. The sound of Anthony's screams cut through the morning silence as the shark's jaws clamped down on his torso. He fought desperately, punching at the predator's snout as it held him in its powerful grip, its massive head shaking violently as razor-sharp teeth sliced through flesh and bone. The great white released Anthony after several seconds, typical behavior when encountering unfamiliar prey, but the damage was catastrophic. Blood immediately began clouding the pristine water as Anthony, despite his severe injuries, began paddling frantically toward shore on his damaged board. The shark circled below, following the blood trail but maintaining its distance, waiting to see if this strange prey would weaken enough to approach safely. Anthony managed to cover nearly half the distance to shore, his movements becoming weaker and more erratic as blood loss and shock overwhelmed him. A jogger on the beach heard Anthony's desperate screams and immediately called for help. But the remote location meant rescue was still minutes away. By the time lifeguards arrived, Anthony had disappeared beneath the surface, the ocean swallowing him whole. Two hours later, Anthony's mangled surfboard washed ashore, bearing the unmistakable crescent-shaped bite marks of a great white shark. The massive gouges told the story of an encounter with one of nature's most efficient predators. Anthony's body was never recovered despite extensive search efforts. The university established a memorial scholarship in his name, and Surf Beach was temporarily closed while marine biologists studied great white activity in the area. The attack led to enhanced warning systems and additional safety briefings for surfers. As the sun set over the California coastline, the memory of Anthony White served as a stark reminder. I've spent years studying the ocean's most fearsome predators, but the bull shark, there's something uniquely chilling about them. They're not just ocean dwellers. They can venture into freshwater, appearing in rivers and even lakes, places where you'd least expect a shark. And their temperament? Let's just say they're known for unprovoked attacks, a relentless bite and release pattern that's terrifying to behold. I remember reading about a case in Galveston Bay, Texas, a seemingly perfect morning on September 3rd, 2015. The sky was blue, the breeze was ideal, and a young charter captain named David Walter was taking 4 tourists out for a fishing trip. David, a first-generation immigrant, had built his business from the ground up, and his clients adored him. He was known for his infectious enthusiasm and meticulous attention to safety. The group was having a fantastic time, catching red snapper and speckled trout just a mile offshore. But then, disaster struck. The boat's engine died, leaving them drifting towards the shipping channel. David quickly diagnosed the problem, a clogged fuel filter. But as he worked, the anchor began to drag in the strong current. Local captains had warned of unusual activity, but David had fished these waters for years without incident. With his clients growing nervous, he made a fateful decision. He dove overboard to reset the anchor, hoping to stabilize their position while he fixed the engine. Unbeknownst to David, he had entered the hunting grounds of a 7-foot bull shark. The shark, drawn by the chumslick from their successful fishing, detected the electrical fields from David's rapidly beating heart and the scent of blood. The attack was swift and brutal. The shark struck from behind, its jaws clamping down on David's leg with crushing force. David's clients heard his scream through the water. He fought desperately to reach the surface, but the bull shark continued its relentless assault, biting again and again. The water turned into a churning mass of blood. David's clients watched in horror as he disappeared beneath the surface. The Coast Guard arrived nearly an hour later, finding only his torn shorts floating in the blood-stained water. The bull shark was gone. There's a story they tell in boating safety courses along the Texas coast, a cautionary tale. It's about David, whose charter business vanished along with him. His body was never found after he disappeared into the Gulf. That tragedy led to new rules, emergency beacons, backup systems. But thousands of miles away in Hawaii, there's another predator. And what happened in those crystal clear waters shows exactly why it earned its terrifying nickname. This time it would happen under the cover of darkness, where even paradise turns into a hunting ground. April 22nd, 2016. The evening was perfect near Hana, Maui. A gentle wind, the sky ablaze with tropical colors. 24-year-old Christian Smith couldn't have asked for better conditions for his solo fishing trip. He was a local favorite at the surf shop, known for his easy smile and his endless knowledge of secret fishing spots. His friends would say he was fearless, always seeking that perfect fishing experience only the islands could offer. That evening, he loaded his truck, heading to a breathtakingly beautiful but completely isolated beach. He arrived just as darkness settled. The cove was protected, the water deep, close to shore, with a coral reef that attracted bait fish at night. He set up his heavy gear, ready for the monsters that wake when the sun goes down. He waded into the clear water, about 6 feet deep, to cast beyond the reef break. It felt perfect. He could see the white sand even in the starlight. He'd already caught 2 nice fish when disaster struck. Repositioning, his foot slipped on wet volcanic rock. He fell against sharp coral, opening a deep gash on his leg. Blood streamed into the water. Local fishermen had warned about predators at night, but Christian had fished here countless times. What he didn't know was that this remote spot had become a hunting ground for something truly dangerous. As he tried to assess the injury, he realized the cut was deep. His splashing and the scent of blood created a perfect storm, triggering a predator's instincts. Unbeknownst to Christian, he had attracted the attention of Hawaii's apex predator, tiger sharks. They are perfectly adapted for nighttime hunting, earning the name wastebasket of the sea, because they'll eat almost anything. Their stomachs have contained license plates, tires, even other sharks. They can grow up to 18 feet long, with an indiscriminate appetite that makes them deadly at night when they move into shallow water. They can detect blood from hundreds of yards away, and their lateral line system senses the slightest vibrations. Escape becomes nearly impossible once they lock on. Christian began wading toward shore, but his movements grew erratic as blood loss affected him. The coral cut was more serious than he'd thought. The metallic scent was like ringing a dinner bell. A 10-foot tiger shark had been patrolling the reef edge when Christian's blood reached its sensitive nostrils. Unlike more cautious reef sharks, tiger sharks are known for their bold approach, especially at night. Christian never saw it coming. The attack was sudden and devastating. The tiger shark struck from the side, its massive jaws clamping down on his injured leg with crushing force. The impact knocked him off his feet, sending him tumbling. The predator's attack was relentless. Tiger sharks are known for their tenacious grip, often holding prey while using their muscular bodies to roll and tear. The shark maintained its grip while striking with its powerful tail, creating a whirlpool of violence. What makes tiger shark attacks particularly horrific is their feeding behavior. Once they taste blood, they enter a frenzy, biting repeatedly until prey stops moving. Christian fought desperately, but the predator's grip was unbreakable, and each movement only intensified the attack. In the darkness, I've always been drawn to the sea, but it's a place that demands respect. Sometimes, a place of joy can turn in an instant. I remember reading about Christian, a fisherman in Hawaii. His screams echoed across the empty coastline, but no one was there to hear them. He vanished without a trace, claimed by the very waters that had given him so much joy. Christian's disappearance sparked a massive search, helicopters and hundreds of volunteers scouring the beaches. 4 days later, they found his body 8 miles away. The Hawaiian community held a traditional blessing ceremony, and his surf shop colleagues created a memorial fund for ocean safety education. But while those tiger sharks hunt under darkness with an indiscriminate appetite off the coast of Hawaii, a similar drama was unfolding off the rugged northern California coast, demonstrating that even professional watermen who've spent years in these waters are never truly safe. November 8, 2017, dawned crisp and clear at Fort Ross, Northern California. The morning fog lifted, revealing a dramatic rocky coastline where Pacific swells crashed against ancient sea stacks. For Ryan Walsh, a 29-year-old abalone diver, it was perfect diving weather. Calm seas and good visibility promised a profitable day, harvesting those prized mollusks. Ryan embodied the dangerous profession of commercial abalone diving. His weathered hands and sun-damaged face told the story of 6 years spent in frigid Pacific waters, free diving to depths that would terrify recreational divers. Friends described him as methodical and safety-conscious, but also driven by an obsessive pursuit of the perfect abalone beds hidden in rocky depths. That morning, Ryan launched his small boat with his dive partner Marcus, a younger diver who looked up to Ryan as a mentor. The two had worked together for 3 seasons, developing wordless communication born from shared danger in one of California's most hazardous occupations. Ryan chose a productive rocky reef in 25 feet of water. The location was challenging, with strong currents, kelp forests, and the ever-present danger of entanglement in abandoned fishing nets littering the bottom. As Ryan suited up in his thick wetsuit, he felt the familiar mixture of excitement and apprehension. The water temperature was a bone-chilling 55 degrees, but Ryan had built a tolerance over years of expo. His dive bag contained an abalone iron, measuring gauge, and collection bag, tools of his dangerous trade. The first few dives went perfectly. Ryan descended through the kelp canopy to the rocky bottom, where clusters of red abalone clung like living jewels. His experienced eye identified legal specimens, and his practiced hands pried them loose with surgical precision. But on his 7th dive, disaster struck. Working to free a particularly large abalone, Ryan's fin became entangled in abandoned fishing nets. The nearly invisible monofilament wrapped around his leg like a spider's web, holding him against the rocky bottom as his air supply ran dangerously low. After a desperate struggle, Ryan managed to cut through enough netting to break free. He made an emergency ascent, lungs burning as he fought through the kelp toward sunlight. When he finally surfaced, He was exhausted, disoriented, and dangerously far from his boat. What Ryan didn't realize was that his distressed movements had attracted the attention of California's apex predator. Great whites are living fossils that have patrolled these waters for millions of years. Perfectly adapted to hunt in the kelp forest where seals and sea lions congregate, these massive sharks typically reach 12 to 16 feet and can weigh over 3,000 pounds. Their torpedo-shaped bodies are capable of explosive bursts exceeding 35 miles per hour that can launch them completely from the water. Their incredible sensory system allows them to detect electrical fields from several meters away and track blood trails from a 500-yard distance. During autumn, mature great whites patrol northern California in greater numbers, following the migration patterns of their preferred prey. These sharks are incredibly intelligent, capable of learning and adapting hunting strategies, making them unpredictable and extremely dangerous to humans who venture into their territory. Marcus, watching from 300 yards away, immediately recognized something was wrong. Ryan floated motionless at the surface, clearly in distress. Marcus started the engine and raced toward his partner, but the distance seemed impossibly far. A 13-foot great white had been patrolling the kelp beds when it detected Ryan's emergency ascent. The shark's acute senses picked up electrical impulses from his rapidly beating heart, the scent of abalone in his collection bag, and the erratic movements of a creature in distress. All triggers activating its predatory instincts. Ryan never saw the attack coming. The great white struck from below with devastating force, its massive jaws clamping down on his torso with a bite force reaching 4,000 pounds per square inch, slicing through his wetsuit and into vital organs. The shark's initial bite was exploratory, typical great white behavior with unfamiliar prey, but the damage was already catastrophic. The predator released Ryan and circled back, following the blood. I'll never forget the image. A wetsuit torn and bloody, a life fading in the vastness of the ocean. Ryan's death, they said, sent shockwaves through the abalone diving community. New safety regulations were quickly put in place, and his partner, Marcus, became a dive safety instructor, dedicating himself to preventing such tragedies. The dive beds at Fort Ross, they were temporarily closed as biologists tried to understand the great white activity. But while those great whites patrolled the kelp forests of Northern California, hundreds of miles south in Florida's warmer waters, another drama was about to unfold. A spear fishing competition was about to become a feeding frenzy, and this time it would all happen in crystal clear water, every horrific detail visible. August 14th, 2013. Perfect conditions graced Jupiter Inlet, Florida. The morning sun sparkled on the emerald Atlantic, gentle swells creating ideal visibility for the annual South Florida spearfishing tournament. Alex Paul, a 33-year-old construction foreman from Miami, couldn't have asked for better conditions. He was one of 40 competitors that morning. The targets were cobia, kingfish, and grouper, prized game fish. Alex had scouted the area and identified some promising spots where the big ones were likely to be found. The competition began at sunrise. Alex and his dive buddy, Carlos, headed to a reef in 30 feet of water, a place where bait fish attracted larger predators. The water was exceptionally clear, with 80-foot visibility, perfect for spotting his quarry. For a couple of hours, Alex had moderate success, but as the morning progressed, he became focused on finding a trophy fish, something that would win him top prize. Then he saw it, a massive cobia cruising the reef edge. It was magnificent, easily 50 pounds, worth maximum tournament points. Alex hyperventilated to extend his bottom time, then dove to intercept the fish. His shot was perfect, striking just behind the gills. But the wounded fish took off for deeper water. In the excitement of such a prize, Alex became separated from Carlos and the other divers. He found himself alone in an isolated section of the reef. The wounded cobia's struggle left a significant blood trail as Alex fought to control the powerful fish. When he finally surfaced, he was bleeding from cuts caused by the fish's sharp fins, exhausted from the underwater battle. The combination of fish blood and human blood, along with the dying cobia's continued struggles, created the perfect stimuli, triggering the predatory instincts of every shark in the vicinity. What Alex didn't realize was that he had just attracted one of Florida's most dangerous predators: bull sharks. They're perfectly adapted to Florida's warm coastal waters, remarkable creatures that can survive in both saltwater and freshwater. These powerful hunters typically reach 6 to 8 feet in length. They have specialized kidneys that regulate the salt content in their blood, allowing them to appear anywhere from the open ocean to golf course ponds miles inland. Their incredible sensory system allows them to detect vibrations from struggling fish hundreds of yards away and sense electrical fields from several meters distance. Unlike other shark species that might be more cautious around humans, bull sharks are known for their bold, direct approach to potential food sources. They often compete directly with spear fishermen for their catch. Their aggressive nature and opportunistic feeding behavior, combined with their ability to strike repeatedly rather than bite once and retreat, makes them one of the most feared predators in American waters. This particular 7-foot bull shark had been patrolling the reef. The scent of blood reached its nostrils from hundreds of yards away. The predator's acute senses detected the electrical fields generated by both the struggling fish and Alex's rapidly beating heart. Alex saw the shark approaching. He tried releasing his catch, hoping to distract the predator with the wounded cobia. But bull sharks are opportunistic feeders with insatiable appetites, and multiple potential prey items only intensified their aggressive behavior. Instead of taking the offered fish, the water turned crimson. A bull shark, clamping its massive jaws on Alex's leg with crushing force. It's a scene I can barely imagine, even after reading the reports countless times. The attack, they said, was swift and brutal. The bite severed major blood vessels, and the shark, true to its nature, struck repeatedly, causing massive tissue damage. Alex, in those final moments, fought desperately, punching at the shark's snout, trying to reach his dive knife. But the bull shark's aggression was relentless. Alerted by the commotion and the spreading slick of blood, other divers raced toward Alex. They found him floating, unconscious, his spear gun and the wounded cobia drifting nearby. The bull shark had vanished, leaving only the devastating evidence of its attack. Despite immediate first aid and a Coast Guard helicopter evacuation, Alex died from massive blood loss during the 40-minute flight to the trauma center. I can only imagine the shock and grief that rippled through the spearfishing community. The tournament was canceled and they mourned one of their most respected members. But even in tragedy, there can be change. Alex's death led to enhanced safety protocols at tournaments. Now, divers are required to stay in closer proximity to their buddies. Organizers began providing emergency response training, and the association established a memorial fund to promote safer diving practices. It's a small comfort, but perhaps it's a way to honor his memory.